Concern is growing for the city's homeless population as we continue to deal with these frigid temperatures. Shelters and warming centers, they are already at full capacity.
CB24's Courtney Hills has spent the morning outside the Elizabeth Street Warming Center with more on this now. And I know, Courtney, you're talking to the city this half hour.
That's right. Good morning, Nick and Jennifer. We've been in touch with the city to get an update on the situation involving warming centers and shelters in the city. This is also something we've been covering for months now. The demand is very, very high. The warming centers at capacity. These centers open when the temperature hits -5. It's been cold over the last little while. Let's bring in Lindsay Broadhead with the City of Toronto. Lindsay, we're hearing there are plans underway for a surge site, so another location if the temperature hits -15. Where do those plans stand?
Yeah, so this has always been contemplated as part of the winter plan. As the temperatures get cold, as the demand reaches capacity at our enhanced winter service site areas, these are the new respite centers and warming centers, we will expand to allow for more capacity wherever we can. It's also important to remember that at the warming centers, when temperatures reach this cold, the doors stay open. So people will be allowed in and accommodations are made where we can. We include chairs, allow for more space. So we stretch the boundaries of what we're allowed to do and our capacity as much as possible.
I've had a chance to speak with people, though, who are going in and out of this warming center, and they've told me people are being turned away. Is that not the case then? Like, what are you hearing on that?
Yeah, so again, this may be the case. For each of the warming centers, there is a certain capacity that's allowed by law. And we also have accommodations to expand that when temperatures get low. So it may be that for a certain warming center at a particular point of time, that has reached capacity. And at that point, what we try to do is work with our partners to make sure that individual has another site to go to. We may not always be successful, though.
Well, that's certainly heartbreaking given how cold it is. I want to ask you about the threshold, the -15 degrees. I mean, we're pretty close to that right now, Lindsay. Is there any wiggle room there? Is there a possibility the city will step in and open up space even though we might not hit -15?
Well, we're doing it already. It's also important to remember that that threshold of -15 this year has already been taken down to -5. So in previous years, the warming centers, we need to remember, weren't even open until -15. This entire season, we've expanded winter services so that the doors are open at -5. Those doors are open and have remained open whenever Environment Canada hits that threshold. What -15 does is it allows us to put more workers on the streets, to support people living on the streets, and add in additional capacity where we can. But Courtney, those situations, those mechanisms are already in place.
Is the city also opening up opportunities with hotel rooms? I know sometimes that's kind of a last case scenario, but are you looking at that as well?
We're considering every opportunity that is possibly available. We're calling on the federal government, and Courtney, you will have heard this a million times. You said yourself at the start of this session that this call for the federal government has been happening all year. This is when we knew it would be at its most acute. This is when the demand is at its most acute. We need the federal government to step up to provide us with the money needed so that we can open hotels, so that we can open more capacity.
Certainly, we've been covering that very, very closely. I know the mayor has been very vocal about this. Lastly, Lindsay, any idea last night exactly how many people referred or went to a shelter and a warming center? Do you have a total number?
Well, we've got 180 new shelter spaces. We have 240 new respite center spaces, and we have the 4 warming center spaces in addition to the 11,000 people who are participating in the Toronto shelter system already. So net total, rough math, I'd say about 1,300 people are using the Toronto shelter system to stay warm.
Okay, Lindsay Broadhead is with the City of Toronto joining us live this morning. Lindsay, thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you so much, Courtney.
So So Nick, Jennifer, Lindsay, talking about that push, that request for the federal government to give the city more money so they can make the additional spaces available. This is all very timely and something so many people downtown are talking about. I mean, you take a walk down Queen Street, for example, and you see people still sleeping on the street, and they say that is because in some cases they can't get space in a shelter. When the temperature drops like this, we know it can be dangerous. Over to you.
Yeah, timely not only for the temperature, but of course for the upcoming budget talks. CB24's Courtney Heels live this morning. Court, thank you for that.